The diplomatic vessel emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system, and Ambassador Taylor felt his chest tighten with anticipation. For 43 standard years, the Vrin Coalition had monitored radio signals from the third planet. For 43 years, the Galactic Council had debated whether these humans were ready for contact. Finally, the vote had passed. Finally, they could introduce themselves to this young species that filled their airwaves with music, arguments, and dreams. "Ambassador, I'm detecting unusual debris fields," the sensor operator said. Her voice carried an edge that made Taylor's scales ripple with concern. "Define unusual," Taylor said, moving to the display console. The screen showed the inner solar system mapped in blue light. Around the third planet, thousands of red dots clustered in orbital patterns, satellite fragments, hull plating, and refined metals. The patterns suggest recent destruction, not natural formation. The operator zoomed in on the largest cluster. Whatever happened, it wasn't old. Taylor stared at the screen. His throat felt dry. How recent? Based on orbital decay calculations, no more than 3 standard years. 3 years. The Council had finally approved first contact 3 years ago, but the actual mission had taken 2 more years to organize. Bureaucracy and caution had consumed precious time while they prepared the perfect approach, the perfect words, the perfect gifts. Taylor had spent months learning about human culture and customs. He had practiced their greeting gestures until his joints ached. "Take us in closer," he ordered. Carefully, the vessel moved through the debris field like a creature swimming through kelp. Pieces of metal drifted past the viewports. Taylor recognized solar panel fragments and what looked like sections of space stations. Humans had been reaching for the stars. Now their reaching hands floated in pieces. Dr. Kira Vell joined him at the viewport. She was Centauri, with 4 eyes that could see wavelengths Taylor's species could not. Her face, usually bright with curiosity, had gone still and sad. "Ambassador, I'm reading atmospheric composition from the planet. The carbon dioxide levels are severely elevated. Particulate matter in the upper atmosphere suggests massive fires within the last 5 years. What could cause that?" Taylor asked, though dread was already forming an answer in his mind. "Impact event. A large asteroid or comet." Kira's lower eyes closed in a gesture of grief. The Council's early warning network would have detected it. Taylor felt ice form in his blood. "Pull up the warning records." Authorization, Taylor 977. The display changed. A red alert from 6 years ago filled the screen. A 12-kilometer asteroid. Designation SW4477, projected to impact Earth with 97% certainty. The warning had been logged, analyzed, and filed under uncontacted species protocols. No action taken. No warning sent. The humans had been left to face their doom alone because the Council had not yet decided they were ready for contact. "By the ancestors," Taylor whispered. His legs felt weak. He reached for the console to steady himself. "Ambassador, I'm picking up a signal," the communications officer announced. "It's automated, broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Audio and visual components." "Play it," Taylor said. Static filled the bridge, then cleared. A human face appeared on the screen. Male, middle-aged, with dark skin and tired eyes. He wore some kind of uniform with symbols Taylor did not recognize. Behind him, alarm lights flashed red. "This is Commander Jake Morrison of the North American Emergency Response Coordination Center," the human said. His voice was steady despite the chaos visible behind him. "If you're receiving this message, you've found Earth. You've found what's left of us. Anyway, 3 months ago, an asteroid designated Wormwood struck the Pacific Ocean. The impact triggered earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions across the planet. The debris cloud has blocked out the sun. Our crops are failing. Our temperatures are dropping. We estimate that 95% of all complex life on Earth will be extinct within 2 years." The human paused. He looked directly at the camera. Directly at Taylor across the years and death that separated them. "We know you're out there," Morrison continued. "We've known for 30 years. Our radio telescopes picked up your signals. We decoded your language patterns. We knew we were being watched. We hoped you would help us. We prayed you would come. But you didn't. And now it's too late. Taylor felt shame burn through him like acid. Beside him, Kira made a small sound of distress. "I'm not recording this to blame you," Morrison said, and his expression softened slightly. "Maybe you had your reasons. Maybe we weren't ready in your eyes. Maybe your laws prevented intervention. I don't know. I'm recording this because we want to be remembered. Humans existed. We loved. We created. We reached for the stars. We were here. Please don't let our existence fade into nothing. Please tell the galaxy that we tried to survive. Tell them we didn't give up until the very end." The message ended. Static returned, then looped back to the beginning. Morrison's face appeared again, forever trapped in that moment of desperate hope. "Continue scanning," Taylor said quietly. His voice sounded hollow in his own ears. "Look for any signs of survival. Underground installations, sealed facilities, anything." The crew worked in silence. The only sounds were the soft beeps of sensors and the hum of the engines. Taylor watched the blue-green planet grow larger in the viewport. Clouds covered most of the surface, thick and gray. He could see the glow of fires in some places where the clouds broke. Entire forests burned unchecked. Cities stood dark and empty. "I'm detecting multiple underground facilities," the sensor operator reported. "Some show residual power signatures. Very faint, but present. Mark their locations," Taylor ordered. "Prepare landing teams." "Ambassador, there's something else," Kira said. She manipulated her console, bringing up new data. "I'm reading organized data streams coming from several locations. They're not live transmissions. They're automated archives, preserved and broadcasting on loop." "What kind of archives?" "Everything," Kira said softly. "Music, literature, scientific data, personal recordings. They stored their entire civilization in digital form and left it for us to find. They knew they were dying, and they spent their final days preserving their legacy." The landing site was chosen carefully. Beneath what had once been the Rocky Mountains, sensors had detected a large underground facility with partial power still functioning. The landing team wore environmental suits as they descended into the gray world. Ash covered everything like dirty snow. The sky above them glowed a dim orange from distant fires. Taylor led the team across the dead landscape. His boots crunched through layers of ash and broken vegetation. Nothing moved except the wind, which carried the smell of smoke and death. They found the entrance to the facility built into a hillside, reinforced with metal doors that had been sealed from the inside. "There's still air pressure inside," Kira reported, checking her scanner. The seal held. "Whatever's in there has been preserved." The team's engineer, a Quellan named Voss, worked on the door mechanism. "The locking system is sophisticated but straightforward. These humans knew someone might come eventually. They made it possible to open from outside." After several minutes of careful work, the locks disengaged with a heavy click. The doors swung inward, on well-maintained hinges. Interior lights flickered on automatically as they entered. The facility stretched deep into the mountain, carved from solid rock and reinforced with metal supports. Emergency lighting ran along the ceiling, powered by some kind of backup system that had outlasted the civilization that built it. The first chamber they found was labeled in English characters. Kira, who had studied human languages, translated, "Archive Room 1. Historical records and personal testimonies." Inside, rows of computer servers lined the walls, still humming with faint power. Holographic displays activated as they approached, showing a human woman with red hair and green eyes. She wore a white coat and looked directly at the camera with an expression that mixed sadness and determination. "My name is Dr. Lisa Grant," the woman said. "I'm recording this on March 15th, 68 days after impact. I'm a geologist. I was part of the team that first detected the asteroid. We called it Wormwood, after the biblical prophecy. We had 6 months of warning before it hit. 6 months to prepare for the end of our world. The hologram showed images as she spoke. Telescopes tracking a dark shape against the stars. Scientists gathered around computer screens, their faces pale with horror. Global emergency meetings with world leaders. We tried everything, Lisa continued. We launched missiles. We tried to deflect it with nuclear weapons. Nothing worked. Wormwood was too large, moving too fast. And we detected it too late. If we had known earlier, if we had been more advanced, maybe we could have stopped it. But we were alone. And we were too young as a species to defend ourselves. Taylor watched the recording with a heavy heart. They had not been alone. The galaxy had been watching. The Galactic Council's deep space monitors had detected wormwood years before human telescopes, but the information had been filed away, deemed not appropriate for sharing with an uncontacted species. The recording continued. Lisa showed images of the impact, captured by the last functioning satellites. The asteroid had struck the Pacific Ocean with the force of 1 billion nuclear weapons. The ocean had vaporized. Tsunamis had circled the globe. The debris cloud had risen into the atmosphere and spread across the planet within days. I'm recording everything I can, Lisa said. Her voice started to shake. Our history, our science, our culture. I've coordinated with colleagues around the world. Every facility with power is doing the same. We're uploading everything to protected servers. If anyone ever finds this place, they'll know we existed. They'll know we were more than just ruins. The recording ended. Another one started automatically. This one showed a man in a military uniform, standing in what looked like an airport hangar. Behind him, crowds of people moved in orderly lines toward aircraft. Captain Jake Morrison. Emergency Response Coordination Center, he said. We're evacuating as many people as we can to underground facilities. We have space for maybe 2 million people worldwide. There are 7 billion of us. The mathematics are cruel. We're prioritizing children, then essential personnel, then lottery selection for the remaining spots. Everyone else. He paused, his jaw tight. Everyone else gets to spend their final days with their families. Kira made a soft sound of grief. Taylor felt his throat tighten. 2 million saved out of 7 billion. Such a small fraction of survival. The recordings continued. A teacher named Maya Chen appeared next. Sitting in a classroom with children around her, she was teaching them about Earth's history, about art and music, about everything that made humanity special. The children watched her with wide eyes, knowing they would never see the sun again. I want you to remember that we were kind, Maya told her students. Humans weren't perfect. We fought sometimes. We made mistakes. But we also loved each other. We created beautiful things. We took care of our planet as best we knew how. And when the end came, we didn't turn on each other. We helped each other. Remember that. Taylor moved through the archive room, finding more recordings. A police officer named Paul Stevens described maintaining order during the evacuations. How people had waited in line peacefully. How strangers had helped each other. An artist named Claire Rodriguez showed paintings she had created in the bunker, trying to preserve the beauty of Earth before the sky turned gray. A farmer named Henry Walsh talked about the gardens they were trying to grow underground with artificial light, hoping to extend their food supply by a few more months. Every recording carried the same message. Remember us. We were here. We mattered. The team spent hours going through the archives. They found music files containing thousands of human songs. They found literature. From ancient texts to modern novels. They found scientific papers and mathematical proofs. They found videos of daily life, showing humans laughing, playing, working, living. The archive was a monument to an entire species. Compressed into digital form, they knew they were being watched, Kira said quietly, examining a particular file. Look at this. She played a recording that showed Lisa Grant again. But this time, she was looking at something off-camera. Charts and graphs displayed in the background, showing radio signals from deep space. We know you're out there, Lisa said. We've known for decades. We picked up your transmissions. We couldn't decode all of them. But we know they weren't natural phenomena. We know intelligent life exists beyond Earth. We hoped you would come. We looked at the stars every night and hoped to see your ships. We wanted to meet you. We wanted to join you among the stars. Her expression changed, becoming something harder and sadder. But you didn't come. Not when we needed you. I don't know why. Maybe you have rules against interfering. Maybe you thought we weren't ready. Maybe you didn't think we were worth saving. I'll never know. But I want you to know that we don't hate you for it. We're disappointed, yes. We're sad. But hate requires energy we don't have anymore. Instead, we're spending our final days preserving what we were, hoping that someday, someone will care enough to remember. The recording showed Lisa looking directly at the camera one last time. If you're watching this, you came too late to save us. But maybe you came just in time to learn from our extinction. Maybe our death can mean something. Maybe the next young species you find, you'll help them. You'll give them the chance we never had. That would be a legacy worth dying for. Taylor turned away from the screen. He could not watch anymore. The weight of guilt was crushing him. Lisa Grant's words were not angry or bitter. They were worse. They were understanding and forgiving, which made the failure even more painful to bear. Ambassador, Voss called from across the room. There are more archive rooms. At least 20 more chambers full of preserved data. It will take months to review everything. The tunnels led deeper into the mountain than Taylor had expected. The team walked for nearly an hour, following corridors that showed signs of careful construction. The walls were smooth and reinforced. The lighting remained functional. Someone had built this place to last. They passed through several sealed doors, each one opening automatically as they approached. The final door was different. It was heavier, made of thick metal, and marked with symbols that Kira translated as warning signs. Beyond this point, critical systems, authorized personnel only, do not disturb. The climate control is strongest behind this door, Kira said, checking her scanner. Temperature maintained at exactly 12 degrees below zero. That's preservation temperature. For what? Voss asked. Kira's voice dropped to barely a whisper. For living tissue. The door opened slowly. Cold air rushed out, forming clouds in the warmer tunnel. Inside, the chamber was large and circular, with walls lined with smooth white pods. Each pod glowed with a soft blue light. Display screens above each one showed vital signs and status readings. 15 pods in total, 15 lights still glowing, 15 sets of vital signs still registering. Taylor approached the nearest pod. Through the transparent cover, he could see a human child. A girl, perhaps 8 years old, with dark hair and peaceful features. She appeared to be sleeping, her small chest rising and falling in the slow rhythm of cryopreservation. The display above her pod showed her name, Sophie Mitchell. Age, 8 years. Status, stable. By all the stars, Kira breathed. They're alive. The children are alive. The team moved through the chamber, checking each pod. 15 children ranging from 4 years old to 16. Each one preserved in artificial sleep. Each one waiting in the cold darkness while the world above them died. Taylor found a computer terminal near the center of the chamber. He activated it with shaking hands. Files appeared on the screen, labeled with dates from 3 years ago. He opened the first one. A video began to play. A woman appeared on screen. She had brown hair pulled back in a practical style and wore medical clothing. Her eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. My name is Claire Bennett. I'm a nurse, and I've been assigned to the Children's Vault Project. This recording is being made on September 3rd, 1 year and 5 months after impact. I'm documenting the final selection and preservation procedures for the 15 children who will enter cryosleep. Claire looked off camera for a moment, then back. We had space and resources for exactly 15 pods. 15 chances. We selected children based on age range, health, genetic diversity, and psychological resilience. We also prioritized children who had already lost their parents, so no families would have to be separated by choice. That sounds clinical and cold. But the selection committee cried through every meeting. Every choice felt impossible. The video showed Claire walking through the same chamber Taylor now stood in. The pods were empty then, waiting. Engineers tested systems while doctors prepared medical equipment. The adults who remain have made our decision, Claire continued. We could try to save 15 random adults. Or we could save 15 children. The children have more years ahead of them. More potential. More future. Every adult in this facility voted unanimously to give the children our spots. Taylor felt his chest tighten. The humans had known they were doomed but had chosen to save their young instead of themselves. Claire's recording showed the preparation process. Parents bringing their children to the facility, trying to be brave while their hearts broke. Children saying goodbye to mothers and fathers they would never see again. A small boy, crying and clutching his father's hand. Not wanting to let go, the father kneeling down, holding his son. Whispering words of comfort that would be his last. The hardest part is telling them the truth, Claire said. We don't lie to the children. We tell them that Earth is dying. We tell them they're going into a very long sleep. We tell them that when they wake up, everyone they know will be gone. We answer every question honestly. Children deserve truth, even painful truth. The video showed interviews with some of the selected children. A teenage girl named Emma spoke with surprising calm. I understand what's happening. My parents died in the floods after the impact. I miss them every day, but if I can survive, if I can carry their memory forward, then maybe their lives meant something. Maybe my life can mean something too. A younger boy named Lucas talked about his love of space and stars. I always wanted to meet aliens. I hope they're nice. I hope they'll want to be friends. 6-year-old Ryan simply asked, Will it hurt? The sleeping? Claire had knelt down to his level in the recording. No, sweetheart. It won't hurt. You'll close your eyes. And when you open them again, everything will be different. But you'll be safe. I promise. The recording showed the day the children entered the pods. Each child was allowed to bring one small item with them. Sophie had chosen a stuffed rabbit. Emma brought a book of poetry. Lucas had a photo of his family. Ryan clutched a small toy spaceship. The parents and remaining adults lined the chamber, saying final goodbyes. Some held strong, others broke down. All of them touched their children one last time before the pods sealed. I want whoever finds this to know something, Claire said in her final recording. These children are not specimens to study. They're not curiosities. They're the last hope of an entire species. We've left detailed medical instructions for waking them safely. We've left educational materials, psychological support resources, and messages from their parents. Everything they'll need to understand what happened and why. Claire's expression hardened with fierce determination. If you're watching this, you came too late to save our world. But you're not too late to save our children. Please. Please take care of them. They're innocent. They deserve a chance to grow up. They deserve to see the stars we could only dream about. Give them the future we couldn't. The recording ended. Taylor stood in silence, staring at the screen. Around him, the cryopods hummed softly, preserving 15 young lives in artificial sleep. 15 children who had gone to sleep in a dying world. 15 chances that humanity might survive. Kira approached him quietly. Ambassador, we need to make a decision. These children have been in cryosleep for 3 years. The pods are functioning, but they won't last forever. The power systems are degrading. We have perhaps 10 more years before failure becomes likely. Can we transport them? Taylor asked. Yes, the pods are designed to be moved. We can transfer them to our medical bay. But Ambassador. She paused, her voice careful. If we wake them, we have to tell them the truth. We have to tell them that the galaxy watched their world die and did nothing to stop it. Taylor looked at the sleeping children. Sophie, with her stuffed rabbit. Lucas, dreaming of stars. Emma, carrying the weight of survival on her young shoulders. Ryan, hoping the sleep wouldn't hurt. We have to wake them, he said quietly. Leaving them asleep would be the coward's choice. These children deserve to live. Even if that life means learning painful truths. They may hate us, Voss warned. They may blame us for their world's death. They should, Taylor replied. We are to blame. The Council is to blame. We watched and did nothing. If these children hate us for that, it's no more than we deserve. He activated the communication system to contact the ship above. This is Taylor. Prepare the medical bay for 15 human cryopods. We're bringing them up immediately. And contact the Council. Tell them we found survivors. Tell them we're waking humanity's last children. Tell them everything is about to change. The team began the careful process of disconnecting the pods from the facility's power systems and preparing them for transport. Each pod was checked multiple times. No one wanted to risk damaging the precious cargo inside. As they worked, Taylor accessed more files on the computer. He found messages recorded by parents for their children. A mother named Angela Mitchell had left a message for her daughter Sophie. Taylor played it, needing to understand the depth of what these humans had sacrificed. Sophie, my baby girl, the woman said, tears running down her face. By the time you see this, I'll be gone. But I need you to know how much I love you. How proud I am of you. You're so brave, so strong. I know you're scared, but you're going to survive. You're going to see things I could only imagine. You're going to meet people from other worlds. Angela paused, wiping her eyes. Don't be angry at them for not saving us. They had their reasons, I'm sure. Instead, show them what humanity was. Show them our kindness, our curiosity, our love. You see, the medical bay aboard the Vrin Coalition vessel had been transformed. 15 cryopods lined the walls, their blue lights casting soft shadows across the room. Medical staff from 3 different species moved quietly between the pods, checking monitors and preparing revival protocols. Every reading was triple-checked. Every system was verified. The children inside these pods represented something unprecedented. The sole survivors of a dead world. Taylor stood at the observation window, watching the preparations. His hands trembled slightly. In his long career as a diplomat, he had negotiated treaties, resolved conflicts, and welcomed dozens of species into the Galactic Council, but he had never done anything like this. He had never had to look survivors in the eye and explain why their world had been allowed to die. Dr. Kira Vell approached him, carrying data tablets. We've reviewed all the medical files left by the human doctors. The revival process is straightforward. We warm the pods gradually, stimulate neural activity, and allow consciousness to return naturally. The humans designed this very well. They wanted to make it as easy as possible for whoever found their children. How long until we begin? Taylor asked. We could start now if you're ready. I recommend waking the oldest child first. Emma. She's 16 and has shown strong psychological resilience according to the records. She can help the younger ones understand. Taylor nodded slowly. Begin with Emma. I'll speak to her first. The medical team gathered around Emma's pod. Doctors made final adjustments to the warming sequence. The blue light began to shift, becoming warmer, more golden. Inside the pod, Emma's vital signs began to change. Her breathing deepened. Her heart rate increased slightly. The frozen suspension that had held her for 3 years began to release its grip. It took 30 minutes for the process to complete. Emma's eyes moved beneath her closed lids. Her fingers twitched. Then, slowly, her eyes opened. She stared up at the pod's transparent cover, confused and disoriented. Her breath fogged the surface. A human voice interface activated, speaking in English. It was a recording left by Claire Bennett, the nurse. Emma, you're waking up from cryo-sleep. You're safe. Don't try to move too quickly. Let your body adjust. Someone will help you soon. The pod cover slid open. Emma blinked against the light, her eyes adjusting. A medical assistant, carefully selected for her gentle manner, leaned over the pod. She was Centauri, with features similar enough to human that she would not be too shocking for a newly awakened girl. "Hello, Emma," the assistant said in careful English. "My name is Nira. You're aboard a spacecraft. You've been asleep for 3 years and 14 days. Do you remember what happened? Do you remember entering the pod?" Emma's voice came out rough from disuse. "Earth. The asteroid. Is Earth." She couldn't finish the question. "I'm so sorry," Nira said gently. "Earth is gone. You and 14 other children are the only survivors we found." Emma closed her eyes. Tears slipped down her face. She had known this was coming, had prepared for it 3 years ago, but knowing and feeling were different things. After a moment, she opened her eyes again. They were red, but determined. The others, the other children, are they all right? "They're here. They're safe. We'll wake them soon. But first, someone needs to speak with you. An ambassador from the Galactic Council. He wants to explain what happened and answer your questions." Emma sat up slowly, accepting help from Nira. She was dressed in a simple medical gown. Her legs were shaky after 3 years of sleep, but she steadied herself. "I want to meet him. I want to know why you didn't come sooner." Taylor entered the room a few minutes later. Emma was sitting on an examination table, wrapped in a blanket, drinking water slowly. She looked up as he entered, and her eyes widened slightly at his appearance. Taylor was Vryn, reptilian in form, with scaled skin and large eyes. He was clearly alien. Clearly from another world. "Hello, Emma," Taylor said. He had practiced this moment in his mind 1,000 times, but no practice made it easier. "My name is Ambassador Taylor. I represent the Galactic Council. I'm sorry we didn't come in time to save your world." Emma studied him for a long moment. Her expression was hard to read. "Did you know? Did you know the asteroid was coming?" Taylor had decided on the journey back to the ship that he would tell only the truth, no matter how painful. "Yes. We knew. Our deep space monitoring systems detected it years before your scientists did. The information was logged and filed. No action was taken. Earth was classified as an uncontacted world. Council protocols forbade interfering with your natural development." "I have win." "Natural development," Emma repeated. Her voice was flat. "You watched an asteroid kill our planet, and you called it natural development?" "I'm not defending the decision," Taylor said. "There is no defense. The Council believed they were following important principles. Non-interference. Allowing species to evolve without external influence. But principles are worthless when they cost 7 billion lives. We failed your species. I failed your species. I'm sorry is inadequate. But it's the only thing I can offer." Emma looked down at her hands. They were shaking slightly. "My mother. She left me a message. She told me not to be angry at you. She said you probably had your reasons. But I am angry. I'm so angry I can barely breathe." "You have every right to be angry," Taylor said. "But I'm also tired," Emma continued. "And I'm scared. And I'm alone except for 14 other kids, who are going to wake up just as scared as I am. So I need to know. What happens to us now? Are you going to leave us frozen again? Study us? Lock us away somewhere?" "No," Taylor said firmly. "You'll be granted citizenship in the Galactic Council. You'll be given homes, education, and support. You'll be protected and cared for. The Council has already voted unanimously. You're not prisoners or specimens. You're survivors, and you deserve every opportunity to build lives for yourselves." Emma laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "That's generous, considering you killed our planet by doing nothing." "Yes," Taylor agreed simply. "It is the least we can do." Which makes it nowhere near enough. They sat in silence for a moment. Medical staff moved quietly in the background, preparing to wake the other children. Finally, Emma spoke again, her voice softer. "There was a boy in my bunker before the selection, Danny. He was 12. He didn't get chosen for cryo-sleep. We said goodbye the day before I entered the pod. He told me he wasn't scared because he knew I would survive. He said I would carry part of him with me, and that made his life matter. I think about that a lot. She looked up at Taylor. 7 billion people like Danny. 7 billion people who died hoping that someone would remember them. That their lives meant something. Can you do that? Can the Galactic Council remember them? We can, Taylor said. We will. I promise you that. Humanity's story will be told. Your people's legacy will be preserved. The Council will study what happened to Earth. And we will change our protocols so this never happens again. Your world's death will save others. That's something, I guess, Emma said. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Can you wake Lucas next? He's 14. He's smart and kind. He'll help me with the younger kids. We'll need to work together to help them understand. Of course, Taylor said. Whatever you need. Over the next several hours, the remaining children were awakened one by one. Lucas came next, as Emma requested. He woke with confusion that turned to grief. But like Emma, he gathered himself quickly. He held Emma's hand while they woke the next child, a 12-year-old girl named Mia. The process continued. Some children cried. Others went silent with shock. 8-year-old Sophie asked for her mother, and Emma held her while she sobbed. 6-year-old Ryan wanted to know if the toy spaceship he'd brought with him was safe. A 7-year-old boy named Aaron asked if they could go home, not fully understanding that home no longer existed. Emma and Lucas moved between the younger children, offering comfort and explanation. They answered questions as best they could. They held hands that needed holding. They were children themselves, thrust into roles of leadership and comfort they should never have needed to fill. Taylor watched it all, feeling his heart break and reform repeatedly. These children were so young, so vulnerable, yet they were facing impossible circumstances with courage that shamed him. They had every right to collapse, to rage, to refuse to engage with the galaxy that had betrayed them. Instead, they supported each other. They adapted. They survived. Later that evening, when all 15 children were awake and gathered in a common room designed for their comfort, Sophie approached Taylor. She carried her stuffed rabbit, holding it tight against her chest. Her eyes were still red from crying, but her voice was steady. Ambassador Taylor? She asked. He knelt down to her level. Yes, Sophie? Emma explained what happened. She said you knew about the asteroid but didn't help. She said your people watched our world die. Taylor felt the words like physical blows. From this small child, the accusation was devastating. That's true. I'm sorry. Sophie studied his face carefully. Are you really sorry? Or are you just saying words? Taylor thought about how to answer honestly. I'm really sorry. What happened to your world keeps me awake at night. It makes my chest hurt. I wish I could go back in time and change what the council decided. But I can't. All I can do is try to make sure you're safe now. Try to make sure you have good lives. Try to make sure no other planet suffers the way Earth did. Sophie was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, Did you come to Earth because you finally decided we were worth saving? Or did you come to make yourselves feel better about letting us die? The question was so perceptive, so cutting, that Taylor had to take a breath before answering. Both, I think. We came to make first contact, finally, after years of debate. But when we found your planet dead, I think part of why we searched so hard for survivors was guilt. We wanted to find someone we could still save, someone we could help, even though it was too late for everyone else. That's honest, Sophie said. My mom always said honesty was important, even when it hurt. Your mother was right. Sophie looked back at the other children, then at Taylor again. I'm still mad at you. At all of you. But I'm too tired to stay mad forever. And Emma says we need to think about the future, not just the past. So, I guess we'll try. But you have to promise to remember everyone who died. Promise to remember my mom. 3 days after the awakening, the Vrin Coalition vessel returned to Earth orbit one final time. The 15 children had requested this. They wanted to say goodbye properly, in a way that honored everyone who had died. Taylor had agreed immediately, understanding that they needed closure, even if closure could never fully heal such deep wounds. The children gathered in the observation deck, looking down at the gray-brown planet below. Clouds still covered most of the surface. Fires still glowed in places where forests continued to burn. From orbit, Earth looked peaceful, almost serene, only the color was wrong. The blue-green jewel that humans had called home was now wrapped in shades of ash and dust. Emma stood at the front of the group, holding a data tablet. Over the past 3 days, she and the other children had worked together to create something important. They had reviewed the archives, listened to messages from their parents, and decided what humanity's final statement to the galaxy should be. "We want to create a memorial beacon," Emma said to Taylor. "Something that will orbit Earth forever. Telling anyone who comes here what happened. Telling them who we were." "We can do that," Taylor said. "What do you want the beacon to contain?" "Everything," Lucas said. He stood beside Emma, his voice steady. "All the archives from the bunker. All the recordings, the music, the art, the science, every piece of humanity we can preserve, and messages from us, the last messages from the last humans." The engineering team worked quickly. They constructed a beacon using advanced technology that would last for thousands of years. It would be powered by solar energy and protected by shields that could withstand impacts and radiation. The beacon would broadcast continuously, sending humanity's story out into the void. The children recorded their messages in a quiet room on the ship. Each one spoke from the heart, saying what they needed to say to a world that could no longer hear them. Emma went first. She sat before the camera, composed despite the tears on her face. "My name is Emma Rodriguez. I'm 16 years old. I'm the oldest surviving human. When you hear this message, Earth will be silent and empty. But it wasn't always. Once, 7 billion of us lived here. We filled this planet with cities and farms, art and music, love and dreams. We weren't perfect. We made mistakes, but we were here, and we mattered." She paused, gathering her thoughts. "The Galactic Council knew our world was dying. They watched the asteroid approach. They could have warned us, maybe helped us. But they chose not to interfere. They had their reasons, their protocols. Maybe they thought they were doing the right thing. But 7 billion people died because of their choice. I want the galaxy to know that. I want them to remember what their caution cost." Emma's expression softened slightly. "But I also want to say this. We forgive them. Not because what they did was right, but because holding on to hate would poison what's left of humanity. My mother taught me that. She told me to show the galaxy our kindness, not our anger. So I'm trying. For her. For everyone we lost." Lucas recorded his message next. "I always wanted to meet aliens. I used to look at the stars and imagine what other species were like. I got my wish, I guess, even if it came with the worst price imaginable. To anyone listening to this, human children loved wonder. We loved learning. We loved imagining the impossible. Don't forget that we reached for the stars. Even when our own star was dying." Sophie held her stuffed rabbit tightly as she spoke to the camera. "My mom was named Angela. She was the best mom in the world. She made me feel safe, even when everything was scary. I want people to know her name. I want people to know she existed, and that she loved me. That's important to me." Each child recorded their message. 14-year-old Mia talked about her dream of being an artist. 10-year-old Nathan described his father, who had been a firefighter. 6-year-old Ryan simply said, "Earth was pretty. I miss the sky being blue." When all the recordings were complete, they were uploaded to the beacon along with the entire archives from the underground facility. Music, literature, scientific data, personal videos, and historical records. Humanity's entire legacy compressed into one eternal signal. The beacon was deployed in a high orbit above Earth. As it activated, the children watched from the observation deck. The device began broadcasting immediately, sending waves of information out into space. Anyone who came to the Sol system would hear it. Anyone who wondered what happened here would find their answers. Emma led a simple ceremony. The children stood together, holding hands in a circle. They had prepared words from different human traditions, mixing prayers and poems and simple statements of love. Sophie spoke first, her small voice clear in the quiet room. We remember everyone who died. We remember their names, their faces, their kindness. They're not really gone as long as we remember them. The other children echoed her words. We remember. They observed a moment of silence. Outside the viewport, Earth turned slowly, a monument to loss and love. Then Emma spoke the final words of the ceremony. We are the last humans. We carry our species forward into a new age. We will learn from other worlds. We will grow and change. But we will never forget where we came from. We will never forget what we lost. And we will make sure the galaxy never forgets either. The vessel left Earth orbit soon after. The children watched their homeworld shrink in the viewport until it was just another point of light among countless stars. Many cried quietly. Others sat in stunned silence. Emma held Sophie on her lap, stroking her hair gently, while Lucas sat on her other side, his hand gripping hers tightly. The journey to the Council's central station took 3 weeks. During that time, the children adapted to life among aliens with remarkable resilience. They learned about different species, different cultures, different ways of thinking. The ship's crew treated them with care and respect, understanding that these were not just refugees but representatives of a dead civilization. When they arrived at the Council station, the entire government had gathered to receive them. Hundreds of species from across the galaxy filled the great chamber, all standing in respectful silence as the 15 children entered. It was unprecedented. The Council had never shown such unified honor before. Taylor led the children to the central platform. He had prepared a speech, words carefully chosen to explain what happened and what needed to change. But as he looked at Emma and the others, he realized the speech was unnecessary. Their presence said everything that needed to be said. Council members, Taylor began. I present to you the last children of Earth. They are survivors of a catastrophe we could have prevented but chose not to. Their world died because we valued protocol over life. We cannot undo that failure. We can only learn from it and ensure it never happens again. The council chamber remained silent. Taylor continued. I propose the Emma Accords, named for the eldest survivor. These accords will mandate immediate intervention for any species facing extinction events, regardless of their technological development or contact status. We will no longer debate while worlds die. We will act. We will save lives. That is our duty as advanced civilizations. The vote was unanimous. Not a single council member opposed the accords. The shame of Earth's death had touched every species present. They knew they could never make amends for what happened, but they could prevent future tragedies. Emma was invited to speak. She approached the podium, a small human girl standing before the assembled representatives of a galaxy. She looked young and fragile, but her voice rang clear and strong. My mother left me a message before she died, Emma said. She told me to show you what humanity was, to show you our kindness and our courage. She hoped that maybe our death could save others. I think that's what she wanted most. Not revenge, not even justice, just meaning. She wanted our suffering to mean something. Emma looked across the vast chamber, meeting the eyes of beings from 100 different worlds. The Emma Accords give her that. They give all 7 billion dead humans that. Our species died so others won't have to. That's a legacy I can live with. That's a purpose I can carry forward. The chamber erupted in what various species used for applause. Some clapped, others hummed, others flashed bioluminescent patterns. The sound was overwhelming and strange and beautiful. The 15 children were granted full citizenship and provided with homes, education, and support. They were placed together in a residential facility designed for their needs, with human foods, human comforts, and caregivers trained to understand human psychology. They could stay together as long as they wanted. A small family formed from the ashes of their world. Years passed. The children grew. They adapted to life in a galactic society that was both wondrous and strange. They learned new languages and technologies. They made friends among alien species. They built lives that their parents could never have imagined. Emma grew into a young woman. She studied xenopolitics and became an advocate for emerging civilizations. She traveled across the galaxy, speaking about Earth and ensuring that the Emma Accords were followed. Whenever a young species faced danger, she was there, making sure the Council acted swiftly. She became known as the voice of lost worlds, speaking for those who could no longer speak for themselves. Lucas became a scientist, studying astronomy and planetary defense. He worked on systems to detect and deflect asteroids long before they became threats. His work saved 3 worlds during his career, preventing extinctions that would have mirrored Earth's fate. Sophie grew up to be a teacher, like her mother. She educated young beings from dozens of species about Earth's history and humanity's legacy. She made sure that human music and art were preserved and shared. In her classroom, children from across the galaxy learned about a species that had died reaching for the stars. 20 years after the awakening, Emma returned to Earth's memorial beacon with her own children. She had married a kind centauri named Delvor, and they had 2 daughters together. The girls were hybrids, carrying genes from 2 species, but Emma taught them to honor their human heritage. They stood in a small ship, watching the beacon orbit the silent planet below. Earth remained dead, but life had returned in small ways. Hardy plants had begun to grow in some regions. The skies were slowly clearing. In another 1,000 years, the planet might recover enough to support ecosystems again. It would never be the same, but it would live. Tell them about their grandmother, Delvor said softly, holding Emma's hand. Emma knelt beside her daughters, pointing at the brown world below. That was Earth. Your grandmother Angela lived there. She was brave and kind, and she loved more fiercely than anyone I've ever known. She died so I could live. She sacrificed everything so that humanity would have a future. Are we human? Her oldest daughter asked. You're human and Centauri both, Emma said. You carry the best of 2 worlds. You are the bridge between what was and what will be. And you carry my mother's legacy forward, just as I carried it from her. They listened to the beacon's transmission, hearing the voices of the lost. Angela's voice was there, preserved forever in the archives. She spoke of love and hope and the importance of kindness. Her words drifted through space, a message from the dead to the living. Emma closed her eyes and whispered to the stars, to the planet below, to her mother who would never hear her. They remember. Mom, the galaxy remembers. 7 billion humans are gone, but they're not forgotten. We made sure of that. We made them remember. The memorial beacon continued its eternal broadcast. Humanity's story played on loop, reaching out across the galaxy. And sometimes, on distant worlds, young beings would hear those recordings and wonder about the species that died too soon. They would learn about Earth. They would remember the cost of caution and the price of looking away. The Emma Accords saved countless lives in the decades that followed. When young civilizations faced danger, the Council acted immediately. No more debates. No more protocols blocking aid. Species that would have died were saved, given the chance humanity never received. It was a legacy built on loss. But it was a legacy that mattered. 7 billion humans had died. But through their children's efforts, billions more lived. The price had been terrible, but the lesson had been learned. Emma often thought about her mother's final words. Don't let them forget we were here. Don't let them forget we tried. She had kept that promise. The galaxy would never forget Earth. Teachers would tell the story for generations. The memorial beacon would broadcast for thousands of years. And the Emma Accords would stand as law, protecting the vulnerable, saving the doomed, doing what should have been done for humanity. Late at night, when Emma couldn't sleep, she would stand at her window and look at the stars. Somewhere among those lights was the Sol system. Somewhere out there was Earth, silent and empty, orbited by a beacon that sang humanity's song to the darkness. She would think of her mother, her teachers, The billions who died hoping someone would remember, and she would whisper the same words she had spoken at the memorial ceremony years ago. The words that had become humanity's final epitaph. We were here. We mattered. And the galaxy will never forget us. The stars offered no answer, but Emma didn't need one. The work continued. The legacy endured. And humanity, though nearly extinct, lived on through 15 survivors who refused to let their species fade into silence. They had become what their ancestors always dreamed of being. Citizens of the stars. Bridges between worlds. Voices for those who could no longer speak. The last humans had survived. And in surviving, they had changed the galaxy forever. I promise, Taylor said. What was your mother's name? Angela Mitchell. She was a teacher. She taught second grade. She loved reading books and hiking in the mountains. She made the best chocolate chip cookies in the world. Angela Mitchell, Taylor repeated. I'll remember her. I'll make sure others remember her too. Sophie nodded. Satisfied. She returned to the other children, sitting down between Emma and Lucas. The three of them looked at Taylor across the room, and he saw in their eyes a mixture of grief, anger, acceptance, and hope. They were humanity's last representatives. They carried the weight of an entire species on their young shoulders, and somehow, impossibly, they were going to survive. All of us with you now. Every human who ever lived. Their legacy rests in you and the other children. I know that's a heavy burden for a little girl. But you're stronger than you know. She reached toward the camera, as if she could touch her daughter across time. I'll always be with you, Sophie. In your memories. In your heart. Live well. Laugh often. See the stars for me. I love you forever. Taylor closed the file. His eyes burned. Around him, his team worked in heavy silence. Each of them understanding that they were handling something sacred. These children were not just survivors. They were living monuments to an entire species' final act of hope. The pods were secured and ready for transport. One by one, they were loaded onto anti-gravity sleds and moved through the tunnels toward the surface. The blue lights continued, glowing steadily. The children slept on, unaware that their long wait was finally ending. Unaware that they were about to wake to a galaxy that had failed them, but would now have to answer for that failure. We'll review all of it, Taylor said. Every single recording. Every piece of data. Humanity deserves that much. Kira approached him, her 4 eyes reflecting the soft glow of the displays. Ambassador. There's a sealed section deeper in the facility. The sensors show it's still climate-controlled and has active power. Something is being preserved there. Something important. Taylor nodded slowly. Then we go deeper. Whatever humanity thought was worth protecting with their last resources, we need to find it. The team moved into the dark tunnels, following the faint lights deeper into the mountain. Behind them, the holographic recordings continued playing on loop, showing humanity's final messages to a galaxy that had arrived 3 years too late. Taylor closed his eyes. The weight of the Council's failure pressed down on him like a physical thing. They had worried about contamination, about interfering with natural development, about following protocols. They had worried about everything except the simple fact that sometimes species needed help to survive. We're going down, he said. We'll document everything. We'll preserve what they saved, and we'll carry the truth back to the Council. They need to know what their caution cost. The vessel descended through the gray clouds toward the silent planet below. In the viewport, Earth turned slowly beneath them. A world of ruins and graves, and somewhere in those ruins, humanity's last messages waited to be heard. Taylor thought of Morrison's words, "We want to be remembered." It was such a simple request. The least the galaxy could do was honor it.